Hey guys, happy Tuesday and welcome back to Jenny from the Chopping Block. Tonight I have a gorgeous human being that I'm really looking forward to getting to know better with you guys, Veronica Kaulinis. And
Hello.
Veronica, nice. I'm so happy to see you. And this is going to be awesome. I just want to thank Diana for connecting us and just bringing me all these beautiful, amazing, like-minded people. It's been such a gift. So I just want to honor her for that. And Veronica, so I want to talk about, firstly, I love the name that you came up with for your company. Can you tell us a little bit more about Vulnerable AF? And for those of you that don't know, it means vulnerable as fuck. I always feel a little weird like cursing. I'm like, fuck.
It's not cursing. So Vulnerable as Fuck is a company that I started in 2019. And it came from a time when I was feeling the most pain and the most alone in my life. So it started off as a dinner, and then it turned into an international event series. And where I host trainings and events. So it started in 2019 in Brooklyn, New York, where I'm from. And
Brooklyn in the house.
Started in Brooklyn, and it was a time in my life when I was heavy in the personal development world, learning new things about myself. I was involved in all these different communities, all these different networks. Burning Man, Landmark, personal development, all these different people. I had all these friends. I had like over 4,000 friends on Facebook, all these friends in my phone, but I didn't feel connected to anyone. And when shit went down in my life, or when I was feeling like total crap, like for example, dating the same guy, we're just wearing a different mask, always looking for the same thing in relationships. I noticed that when I felt sad, I didn't feel comfortable calling anybody. Like I was dating this guy, and I showed him all the perfect parts of me. All the parts of me that I didn't really love about myself. Everything was perfect. And I found myself always chasing the same guy, just wearing a different mask because I only showed him the perfect parts of me. And then I would always wonder why we stopped talking, or why we stopped seeing each other, or why we disconnected so quickly. And there was a turning point where this guy, same thing, liked him, showed him all the perfect parts of me. And then we broke up. I felt like shit. And I looked through all the contacts in my phone, and I couldn't call anyone.
Oh, no, yeah.
And what I was really feeling was shame, because, oh no, if I tell someone that I feel like crap, what will people think of me? Mm-hmm. Because I've been so powerful and so on social media, showing all the perfect parts of me and showing all these guys all the perfect parts of me. But I was so scared to share myself authentically, to share who I really, really was. So that's why that's why I didn't feel connected to anyone. No one had a chance to feel connected to me. I didn't give anybody a chance. And it was in that moment when I was crying, I was like, I just want to have real vulnerable as fuck conversations with my friends. Like that's the only kinds of conversation I want to have right now. I don't want to talk about parties. I don't want to talk about, I don't want to get coached right now. I don't want to, get over it. I just want to have meaningful.
That raw. Yeah.
And instead of complaining about it, I just had to do something about it. So I started off as a dinner with 6 people. Then it turned into 15, 18, 25, 30 people. And then it just turned into an event series. So
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I love that it started over food, because I feel like for me, I just feel like you could, when you're breaking bread with people, it just opens up that comfort, where you can talk on that level. I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I love that.
And I've learned so much about myself and about others. Especially now, I'm looking at how to make this platform a platform for difficult conversations.
Absolutely. I think that's really needed right now and really important and will definitely change the world. So I know you're from Brooklyn, but when we were, connecting and we were trying to find times and stuff, you're in Bali right now. Can you tell us a little bit about how that journey led you there?
Yeah. So I'm from New York, Long Island, New York, and I moved to Brooklyn about 7 years ago. And I never lived anywhere else before. Always wanted to, traveled a lot, but never lived anywhere else. And before Corona, we were supposed to go to my partner and I. We were supposed to go to Bali anyway for a Bali Spirit Festival. And when Corona, there was a possibility that Corona was going to hit New York. My boyfriend came up to me and he was like, "I think we should get the hell out of here."
So
I
dope.
was like, no, I can't. I had a 1 day vulnerable AF embodied leadership retreat that I planned for months that had 7 people signed up for. And I was planning to go to Bali after that. I was like, no, I have a retreat next week. And he's like, it's going to be canceled. You have to figure it out. Wow. I was like, no,
yeah,
crazy.
I was the same way. Like until the day where they're like, you're not allowed to do anything.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna figure it out. And then it how things started changing just day by day. Yeah. Then it was like, oh, if I have this retreat, it's completely socially irresponsible. Mm-hmm. Like that's where it turned like, oh shit, no, I actually can have this retreat, and I have to figure it out. And then I packed my bags and I booked a flight, and I left in 4 hours.
Unbelievable. Oh my God, I love you. That's amazing.
So I left all my shit in New York, booked a flight, and I figured out how to do my retreat online on the plane.
Oh, okay, there you go.
And then I got to Bali. I was like, this is going online. Yeah. So, and then, it wasn't an easy decision to stay here because we didn't know how bad it would get in New York. We thought there was a possibility we get stuck here, or we would just go to Bali early. Then it was the decision to stay in Bali because it was like, okay, do I stay? Do I go? What is the best decision? What's the right decision? Am I a good girl? Am I a bad girl if I decide to stay? Those are all like the conflicting thoughts that I had in my head, making a decision to stay when shit really got bad. It was like, oh, do I want to, is it a good idea to stay here in Bali? And I made the decision to stay, and it's been the best decision ever. I love it here, and I'm probably going to live here.
Wow. That's so remarkable. I love that.
Yeah, we're stuck here now. The borders are closed, but I feel really great about being here, and things have been really incredible here for me.
Like everything kind of fell in its place. Life was happening for you, and that's amazing. So I just want to backtrack for a second because I'm a Long Island girl. What part of Long Island are you from?
Central Islip.
Cool. Yeah. My brother lived there for a bit.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So can we go back to your workshops? I want to hear more about so I know it started from an intimate dinner, and it was about just opening up and having a round table to talk about things, have real talk. But then now you're doing these retreats and these workshops. Can you tell me what goes on in this space for people?
Yeah. So Vulnerable AF it's a community event series that's designed to encourage vulnerability and authentic conversations. And what goes on in these conversations are it's sort of like a soup of things that I've learned and things that I've come up with. And basically, we create a space together. We state agreements. We talk a little bit, and then we come in. We get grounded. Sometimes I have someone who leads the meditation comes in, or sometimes we just start off with, getting grounded, getting to know each other. And then I state the agreements of the workshop, which is confidentiality, no coaching, no advice, being
I don't know
really
why I laugh
present.
every time you say that. It just makes
No
me laugh.
coaching, no advice. Oh my God. I mean, just by doing this, I get so triggered by when someone gives me like unconsensual advice. Sometimes I'm like, ah. So no coaching, no advice, presence, and leaving external distractions outside, and being responsible for your own experience here. So kind of like we're all taking care of each other in
Beautiful.
this space. So after that, we just get into different partner exercises, authentic relating, tantra exercises, just vulnerable conversations. Like I facilitate different kinds of vulnerable conversations, and what that looks like is just really interesting questions that we may not always feel comfortable asking a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Questions like, what's important to you? What do you want people to know about you? What don't you want people to know about you? Versus, the typical, what do you do for work? Or how are you?
My dad, so I've been in hospitality, and my dad's like, he said something to me one time. He's like, if you ever don't like somebody, he's like, tell them that you take the rubber bands off of lobster claws. And I don't know if it was just like the timing or what we were doing, but I was like, I'm definitely going to use that. Because like it's so hard to explain like what I do for a living. Like, and I don't want to talk about that. So
yeah, it's I've struggled with that too for a long time. And like once I just got clear on saying what I do and talking about what I do, and say, like, I talk about vulnerability.
mm-hmm.
And some
Beautiful.
people are like, or what? Or tell me more. Or instead of saying, what do you do? I always encourage people to ask the question, who are you? Like, or what are you up to in the world?
Cool. I like that. What are you up to in the world? So I love that. I just lost I wanted to ask you, because I started doing wellness events after talking to one of my business, I guess, coaches or whatever you want to call it, to where like I wanted to open up a coffee shop, and he's like, what do you really want from that? Like, what is it that you want? And I'm like, well, I want to have community and have a space where people could, come together and work on themselves and over really good food. And so I started doing wellness events last year at my friend's, her workspace. Like we would come in once a month, and it's great. It was so much fun, and I love doing them. But I guess I did have people I didn't know attend, but like it was mostly like my friends and my family. So my question to you is like, how'd you find your people that like come to you?
They were friends at first, and then it just started turning into an event where people told their friends to come, told their partners to come. So then it just became a place to meet new people. So, I mean, it's always been that way. Like it's about meeting new people, meeting new friends, building a community, finding community. So that a lot of it was word of mouth too.
I love that.
So at first it was like a lot of people I knew, and then it turned into people I didn't know. So that was really amazing to meet new people. And and then when I started doing it, I did it in Amsterdam once. That was really cool. I met a lot of new people.
So
yeah.
So you started in Brooklyn, and now you do it all over the world. Is that?
Yeah, I've done it in Amsterdam. I'm planning to do one in Bali in 2 weeks. I've done it online now. I did it in California. I've done a Vulnerable AF at Burning Man.
Cool. Wow, that's amazing. Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. What I love more right now is that I get to meet new people and encourage other people to do this. So I started a facilitator training last year. So now 2 other people are leading it currently. And then they're in New York. And
Ooh.
I'm
Let
in,
me know. I want to go.
yeah. Yeah, hopefully they can do it. They could do one in New York soon, like an in-person one. I know they really want to. One of them was able to do an in-person vulnerable AF, and then when Lauda, when she finished, she couldn't because that's when Corona hit too, and we were both like trying to help each other, like, wow, let's figure this out. so
So
she also leads it in Spanish, which is pretty awesome.
cool. Love that. I definitely want to check that out. And I want to ask you because you said, on the plane ride to Bali, you kind of figured out a plan to do it online. What did you learn from that experience? Like, how was that for you?
Uh, it taught me that I can be resilient and I can figure shit out. Like, yeah, just this thought of like, I can do this and I'm gonna make it work. And it's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big thing. Like, that's what I'm also in these past few days with everything that's going on. What stops me from speaking up?
Mm. This
Or
is
what
like
stops me? Yeah,
universal consciousness right now. I love it.
yeah. Yeah, like what stops me from speaking up? What keeps me silent, or not what keeps me silent because I haven't been silent, but um what stops me or what makes me really afraid or stops me from doing what, I said I would do. And I always have to think about, it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
Not about you. Like
I
this
say that to
whole,
myself all the time.
yeah, it's it's about other people and what they are going to get out of this. So if I made it all about me and was like, well, I can't because I'm in Bali now and I can't do this and I'm going to figure it out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, Zoom has breakout rooms. Let me figure out how
So
to use
fun.
them.
Yeah.
Let me figure out how to create connection online because I've been such an in-person person.
Mm-hmm.
I've like online connection. Like that's mind-boggling. And
Mm-hmm.
it is different, but it's not the same as in-person events, of course. But I figured it out, and I guess that ties into our topic of resilience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if something scares you, look at it, feel it,
Mm-hmm.
understand it, seek to understand. Like, what is it that really scares me about this? Is it the fear of failure, fear of fucking up, fear of saying the wrong thing right now, fear of getting it wrong?
Mm-hmm.
That was my biggest fear. Is like, oh no, what if I do this online and everyone, thinks that this wasn't worth their time or their money, or and it's like, it's not about me. Okay, like how can I make it the best that I can do with the
Absolutely.
experience, knowledge that I have, and then educate myself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a really great experience for me. Like, I had to like jump into the whole online world immediately.
So I've been thinking, like, as you're talking about like Brene Brown, and I know she talks a lot about vulnerability, and then I was thinking about, I don't know if it was her book that I was reading the past couple of months, but how, like, especially women, like, we
Mhm.
always strive for like perfectionism, and it's just like part of our, I don't know, our makeup. Do you believe that?
Yeah. Yeah, there's this quote that Elizabeth Gilbert says that I hope I don't mess up, but she says something like, fear is just I'm gonna mess it up, but fear is
Ooh.
like a fancy coat, and it's just like dressed up as a fancy coat. Like we're like trying to, or perfectionism is like fear dressed up in a fancy coat. like trying to be perfect and trying to look good. Yeah, I think perfectionism definitely comes up, and I think I don't know if it's just for women, maybe. I think, men and women definitely face perfectionism and this fear of failure and success. Yeah, not sure.
I
Can
think
you say a
I
little bit
think
more about that?
I just remember reading that and I was like, wow, like, I mean, I personally think perfectionism is boring, and I'm like I'm a screwball sometimes. Like, I don't really care. But I'm sure I have moments where I want to, I feel like we need to be perfect, or we need to show up
Yeah.
like, and be this person, or,
Yeah, totally.
so, yeah.
Yeah, I have those moments all the time. Like, especially even in what's happening right now, perfectionism comes up like, oh, what is the thing I should say? What's the perfect thing to say? How can I, look good? It's like that perfectionism, self-sabotage, inner critic comes up, shame of looking bad, shame of looking good, comes up. And I definitely have had those moments, and then thoughts. And again, the same thing comes up, like, it's not about you.
And I wanted to talk about your coaching because, in your coaching, I read on your website, you want to help people kind of figure out what's holding them back, and also like to speak their truth. Can you talk more about that with us?
Yeah. So I guess my coaching is new for me, actually. I've been a facilitator for a long time. I mean, like, I've like dabbled in the coaching world 2 years ago, and I started off as a health coach.
Cool.
And now, yeah, and now I'm teaching or helping aspiring leaders communicate confidently, so that they can say what they want and create the kind of results that they want in their life. So I just launched a program, Brave AF.
Ooh, I
So
like
that's a
that.
4-week course, and it's about confident communication, vulnerability, and being brave. So yeah, it's been really awesome, and I'm also doing NLP in that.
Ooh,
In that,
how's that journey been?
NLP is amazing.
Okay.
NLP. I did a program with this woman. Her name's Nora Wendell. I did a program during Corona, like when Corona like really hit, and I did a program in Bali here. It was an NLP program, and like I think that program like totally just changed so much for me, and it amplified what I'm doing
Can you
with
tell the
vulnerability.
audience what NLP is? Because I feel like there's probably a few people that don't know what it is.
NLP is neuro-linguistics programming. So it's a technique that helps you rewire, reprogram old beliefs that are stored in your body, old patterns, old behaviors that are stored in your body from a past experience. So then you use these tools to create new neural pathways in your brain to have these new beliefs, like new experiences and new beliefs and new feel good feelings that replace the old beliefs that you felt. Like, like for example, um, I used to think that I had a memory that I'm bad with money, because one time I gave someone the wrong change and he said, "You're lucky you're really pretty."
Mm-mm.
So that made me feel, or I always had this association that like I'm bad with money, and like I'm stupid. So I always tried really hard to, be really smart, or, like I always had this belief that I'm just not good with money. So I avoided looking at money, or I avoided, making spreadsheets and like dealing with money. So then with NLP, I've created like a new belief,
Hmm.
like a new memory to replace that old memory about myself.
Can I ask how, or is that too hard to explain?
It's a technique. It's a technique.
Okay. Is
I,
it? Is
you can
meditation
learn,
involved?
but we have to, yeah, I have to teach you.
Cool. All right, dope.
We'll talk.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like I'm a little torn. Like I've sat into a few speakers talk about it, and I've heard really good things and not so good things. So I'm still kind of trying to navigate what it's about. But that's dope.
Yeah, I'm still learning. So I'm really fascinated by it.
Beautiful. And I want to ask you, so you said you started with wellness coaching. Can you tell me about that journey?
Yeah. So I started with I started doing not NLP, multi-level
Of
marketing
NLP.
years ago.
You like light up.
I'm like, multi-level marketing. I worked with the company, amazing company, Isogenics for
Cool.
I think I did it for a year. I did it a few years ago, and that was like while I was really heavily into the personal development program Landmark. I was doing that for over a year, maybe 2 years. I was like in Landmark doing, I was coaching. I was like,
How is Landmark?
Landmark's amazing.
I've heard
It
good
was
stuff.
amazing. Yeah. You know, people love and hate it. But it definitely changed my life. I think I definitely wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for what I've learned in Landmark. So,
Wow.
I've moved on to different methods and techniques, and I'll always love it. And that was a time in my life where that made a difference for me. But at the time when I was doing Landmark, I found Isogenics because that was like my first glimpse of creating my life. Like, whoa, I can create my life. Whoa, this is new for me. Like, I don't have to do what I
What I
went to
don't want
school
to.
for or what I don't want to do. Whoa. So I was looking at all these people that were like living, working from their laptop and designing their life. And I was like, I didn't even know what Isogenics was. And I was like, signing up, I want to do this. I was like, I do not want to do what I'm doing right now. It's bartending. I was like
Hey, me
working
too.
a job. Yeah, I bartended for 7 years.
Cool.
Working a job I didn't love. And so that was my first realm into coaching and health coaching. And then I tried to go into life coaching. But I remember at that time in my life when I first started getting into that pool was because I just wanted to live anywhere and I wanted to work from my laptop and be free. That was my biggest desire. But I just wasn't ready. Just thinking about who I am today versus who I was a few years ago, I wasn't ready. And I wasn't really enrolled with or inspired by my life. So I couldn't, that's why my business didn't really work. It wasn't successful. I didn't have clarity. I didn't have my message down. I was just like, I just want to get the fuck out of New York. Like that's what I just wanted to do. So, I was a coach, and I remember I actually had like a bad taste about being a coach because it didn't work, or like I had one client, and I was like, I'm not going to be a coach anymore, and I don't want to do this. I'm a bad coach. And with NLP, I've actually learned that was an old memory that I have about coaching.
Wow.
I resisted coaching for a long time until recently. So,
So interesting.
yeah, so that was my first life in coaching, but I'm really happy that it happened that way because then I started working as a community builder for a couple of startups. So I helped them build their community, which looked like me going to events and sharing events and meeting people, which is my favorite thing. I'm so good at doing that. That was where I found out that I'm really good at doing that, and that's actually possible to make a living off of, or to create events. And that's when I learned oh, whoa, I'm really good at this. This is like I never found out what it was I was good at. I didn't feel like I was necessarily great at coaching at the time. And being a community builder and meeting new people and being like kind of like a PR person was my thing. So I started working full time for some startups while I was still figuring out what I wanted to do with coaching, my side hustle, and then Vulnerable as Fuck was born.
Amen.
When I finally like found out what I was good at, what I loved doing, and then I just went for it.
So I want to talk about, I saw that you went to Stony Brook University, which I know really well, and you went for business administration and multidisciplinary studies. I have a few questions surrounding that, but so I want to know, my first question is, did you find that valuable for you in what you're doing now? Like, was that a big part? I love you. Thank you. Okay. Can you just tell me more?
Yeah, I struggled so hard in college. I didn't really work hard, so that's something I'll be totally responsible for. But I just struggled figuring out what it was that I wanted to do. I always knew I wanted to help people, but thinking about being in college for 8 years, I thought the only thing to do, only degree to get was to be a psychologist or to be a social worker. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be a social worker. I don't know what I want to do. So I always just felt like really discouraged by that thought. So I just did the thing that I thought would make me the most money.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to major in economics.
Oh God, so tough.
Mind you, I told myself I wasn't good at math. Right? I had this belief that I wasn't good at math.
My gosh.
Why would I major in economics at that time? It was all to cover up the fear of looking dumb. Right? Because remember that guy said to me, "Oh, you're lucky you're pretty." I was like, "Oh my God, I have to make sure that I'm really smart and I look really smart because I don't want to be seen as just like a dumb pretty girl." Like that's this like association I had with myself. Like I hated being a pretty girl, or I hated like when people said when someone complimented me and said I was pretty, or like my hair or something like that, I would deflect, and because I was so insecure about myself.
You're pretty. I like your hair.
Thank you. But I majored in economics to look good. And then, I failed. I got kicked out of college for a semester because I barely did homework, or I just struggled with math. I was doing something I didn't like doing. So I was failing classes and it didn't feel good to me. It wasn't easy for me. And then finally, I got suspended for a semester because I did so bad in school. Then I had to like go to Old Westbury for a semester and then get a letter of recommendation.
Close to me.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. I had to prove myself to get back into school.
That happened to me too.
Really? Yeah.
I went to school for health science PA, and I actually had lost somebody very close. I'm not using that as an excuse, but I just kind of like, was depressed, didn't want to get out of bed, and like the last thing I cared about was like upper bios.
Yeah.
But then I thought I wanted to do it. I thought, it was just like this, I got to finish and my life's going to be perfect after I graduate. And after my first job, I'm like, I fucking hate this.
So you ended up graduating with that degree and you got
health science, focus in PA. I never went to PA school. So I had my focus in PA school, PA studies rather. I don't know. I just was over it. It's not easy. It's just not easy.
It's not something you really love doing. I mean, look, we go to school after high school with this idea that we have to know exactly who we want to be, and this pressure that we have to know exactly what we want to do and how to get there. And I don't know. I needed to experience. I didn't experience life at all. I mean, I did. I was able to like fail. And I partied all the time. At that time, I was bartending, so I was making money. So I was like, do I go to school or do I make money? So that's the stupid idea that I had.
I used to work till like 3 a.m. and get on a 7 a.m. train to the city for school. And then I would like shop because like it was right in Herald Square. So I would go to like Victoria's Secret's
Yeah.
right there. You got H&M. I come to class with
cool.
like my Starbucks and my shopping bags late. So like my teacher would be like, I think he said something to me once. I was like, whatever. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
I'm doing you. Leave me alone.
Yeah, it's like the things that we put so much pressure on ourselves to know exactly what we want to do. And yeah,
so looking back,
experience.
you feel that it's helped you though, like now having a successful business? Did you take some of those tools like from your BA degree? And no?
I mean, what I'm really grateful for, what I learned about myself when I got back into Stony Brook, and I, lit my ass on fire. Like I was like, I am gonna do well. And for the first time, like I got like straight A's and B's, which I never did in school, because like that was like, for me, it was like a kick in the ass of like, you know what, Veronica, you're smart if you apply yourself. Actually, why don't you try applying yourself and prove yourself that you can do it, like, and let go of this limiting belief that you're not good enough, smart enough. And I did, and I did really well. And instead of, I dropped economics, and because I finally spoke to someone who told me, or a guidance counselor who said, why don't you do the things that you like doing, which was English. I loved writing. I'd rather write a 20-page paper than do a math problem. So she's like, why don't you take English and business and combine those two? That's what I was able to do that at Stony Brook. And I did that. And I actually, what I loved was I was able to take some classes that, my favorite were my English classes. Like, and we watched movies and we read books, and we wrote papers about them. And the best thing that I learned from my degree was learning how to write papers. Honestly,
like rewording everything a million times.
Yeah, I took classes that like required like a really good grade. So, and it pushed me and it helped me become a better writer. So I'm grateful for that, and I did learn from that experience. But
and it probably felt so good.
Degree, no.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's good. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. And I could feel your words when you say, like, I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it, and that I am smart, and that I am capable. And you are. And that's worth it.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm reading White Fragility right now, and she talks a lot about like people, like white people that grew up in poor neighborhoods, right? And this idea of like what that looks like, and conditioning around that. And Central Islip is a really poor neighborhood, right? From the outside looking in, there's a lot of Black people, there's a lot of Spanish people. My mom is Puerto Rican, and so I grew up like with a really diverse group of people. Like I have Black friends, my ex-boyfriends are Black. So
such like a gift. I'm grateful for that as well.
Yeah, me too. I'm so grateful for that. But I grew up in a school district that, like was really looked at like it was a bad school. Right. So like I kind of always had this idea of myself that I'm not smart enough or good enough because I go to a shitty school. Right. Because like, I didn't have that education that was, it wasn't terrible education. It was like, it just wasn't, I didn't have that like that belief in myself that, I can do it, or that I'm smart, because like the way people in Central Islip were treated or judged based on their race, or like what school they went to, or like that's how I went to college. Like, oh, like I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, like that's what I learned in high school. Like, I wanted to be cool, and I definitely like spent a year of high school like not going to class and things like that. So I had like a big learning experience when it came to school. And I think, and being a facilitator now, who teaches people, which is something I never would have thought I would be capable of doing, teaching people how to do something, teaching people how to lead a class, all took from me changing my mindset, my thoughts about myself. Doing that, I'm learning like there's visual learners, there's audible learners, kinesthetic learners, like how do you learn? And I just didn't know those things growing up.
What kind of learner are you?
Kinesthetic. So I feel a lot. I feel like I base my experiences on what I feel. So if everyone's feeling like shit, I'm gonna feel it, and I learn that way.
Empath?
Yeah, I'm an empath. Yeah, and I'm more of like I feel people. Like I'm sensitive to feelings. Like I'm not sensitive to like light and sound, but definitely feeling.
Awesome, I love it. So I want to ask you, because I always like to tie in the Jenny from the chopping block, because I'm, into hospitality, and I want to use some part of these videos to create a recipe like in honor of you guys. So I want to hear about your favorite food and or recipe that you could share with us.
My favorite food. I love Thai food.
Yes.
It's so good. I love pad thai. What else is good? I love food.
What about Thai food? Because I'm with you. I want to know, like,
I love spicy
everything.
noodles, the crushed cashews, the peanut sauce. So yummy.
Okay, on it. And then I also want to ask, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Ooh, if I could have any superpower, I would be able to snap my fingers and be anywhere I want to be, like travel anywhere I want to go. Just by the snap of my fingers.
Ooh, imagine. Let's go. Out. I'm about to snap my fingers. They're like 2 trips. Like, they're small. I'm like, just want to get there. Wow. Yeah. I love that. And then I really want to ask you how you've been. How are you? How is everything going, like internally, and how have you been throughout this whole unique time?
How am I right now? I feel heavy. Mm-hmm. Being an empath, like I feel, right? So I feel like I wish I could do more. It's like I'm not in New York. There's no protest going on here in Bali. So I'm taking action, and I wish I could. Yeah, I have this, not wish I can, I know I can, but I have this, I hold this heaviness a little bit. I want to do more, say more, be more. So I'm feeling that right now. And also thinking about having difficult conversations, like the need to be courageous and the need for more people of color, leaders, that like the need for the work to be put out there some more, like for more leaders teaching people about empathy and vulnerability and how to have difficult conversations. And like I'm over here thinking like, okay, how can I be of service to more people of color, people in my community, and teach people these tools of vulnerability, connection, and empathy. So I'm thinking of all these things right now. So I'm feeling a little heavy.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing. And I agree with you. And I feel you. I took a week off from doing these shows because I was just like, I don't know. I just felt like I needed to go within a little more. And I was really feeling it. Really feeling it.
Me too.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm really grateful for you and that you're having these conversations and that you decided to go live this week.
Yeah, it felt good. The first one back, I was like, am I nervous? I'm never nervous. What the hell? So,
yeah. Good. I'm happy you said that. It's more authentic.
Yeah. And I just want to ask you, like, is there anything that you could share with people that's maybe helped you throughout this time? Any like parting words of wisdom or anything of that nature?
I guess what's helping me at this time is checking in with myself and asking myself, what do I need? What do I need right now? And if you're feeling afraid to speak up and just express yourself, I would recommend or just invite you to not be afraid, and that if whatever you're feeling, someone else is probably feeling it too. So when you're vulnerable and when you are authentic and when you share your truth, even when it's scary, I guarantee it'll help someone else share their story, share their truth, share what they want to say, even when it's scary.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. I'm just so grateful for you and so happy that we got to have this space together. And yeah, this has been amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, this is really amazing. I'm happy. This actually got me out of a funky place too, having this conversation.
It makes me so happy. Truly. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
I see you, and I'm so happy to be here and to support your community. And yeah, I look forward to more conversations with you.
Beautiful. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed tonight. And I'm just like lit up and grateful, super grateful. And tomorrow we'll have another guest. So I hope you tune in. And don't forget, let me know you're here. I don't see you guys this week. I'm going to give away a pretty cool giveaway. So when I see you, I'll choose you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Ciao.